In case you haven't heard the news, Tuca and Bertie just got picked up by Adult Swim for a second season after Netflix canceled it. And this was super exciting, especially for a lot of Tuca and Bertie fans. But I think most importantly, it's a step in the right direction for Adult Swim as a company. Adult Swim has single-handedly revived too many shows to count. The power of this network is completely understated, and not a lot of people realize the impact they've had on primetime television. Adult Swim literally saved Family Guy. And if you can't believe that, then stay tuned. Allow me to explain how Adult Swim brings back shows from the dead. The first show I want to recognize Adult Swim for saving is actually one that's so ubiquitous with the channel at this point that I did not even know it started out on another network. I'm talking, of course, about Home Movies. Originally airing on UPN and being cancelled after just 5 episodes because of poor ratings, it became Adult Swim's first original show, being picked up by the network, where it found a huge cult audience, going on for 4 seasons and being highly regarded as one of the greatest adult animated comedies of all time. It still has like a cult status to it, but I don't know anybody who doesn't love this show, and if you watch it, you'll see just how great it is. But the important thing to recognize here is that Adult Swim recognized talent when they saw it. UPN may have canned the show, but Adult Swim saw the potential in Home Movies. And even if you didn't watch Home Movies, I guarantee you've seen Bob's Burgers, which is what the co-creator of the show went off to do, so this decision just aged incredibly well. Another old Adult Swim show, Space Ghost Coast to Coast, was made famous by Adult Swim, and not in the typical way. I mean, it wasn't necessarily saved by Adult Swim, but rather transitioned from Cartoon Network to Adult Swim when they officially launched. Space Ghost is one of the most unique and experimental cartoons of all time, in my opinion. They recycled old presets from Space Ghost, gave new dialogue, it was full of improv, real celebrity interviews. This was a weird concept, but again, Adult Swim believed in it, and look what happened. Space Ghost's legacy is undeniable, and he's in the pop culture. They took this random Hanna-Barbera character, they just reused old animation cells and made him the iconic character that he is today. That is powerful, but it definitely does not stop there. Without Adult Swim, there would be no Family Guy. And I'm not trying to sound dramatic. Now, it is pretty well known at this point that Family Guy was actually canceled by Fox early on and revived, but not a lot of people talk about what happened in between that time span. Family Guy aired for 3 seasons on Fox, but had a lot of problems with time slot. Ultimately, the show wasn't pulling in that many viewers, and Fox canned it. It got 3 seasons and it had a good run, but it was not the end for the Griffins. The syndication rights went to Cartoon Network, and thus it started airing on Adult Swim. There, its ratings went from mediocre to a huge rating hit for Adult Swim. It had a huge underground following, all these people were still watching the show. This went hand in hand with massive DVD sales, as Family Guy sold over 40,000 DVDs. The number is a lot bigger, it's actually crazy. Definitely a product of its time, but that goes hand in hand with its airing on Adult Swim. Family Guy found a whole new audience, and by the time they had built the show back up with the syndication and DVD sales, Fox decided to give the show another chance, and well, Family Guy is still airing today, so you know how that turned out. In fact, when it returned in 2005, it had massive ratings for the network, a far cry from where it was when it was canceled, and you can thank Adult Swim for that. But that wasn't even the only Fox property they brought back. Futurama, the massive cartoon, also was canceled at one point by the same company, Fox, and once again they were just screwed over with time slots. The network moved the time slots around randomly and erratically, and the ratings reflected that. The wildest part is that Fox didn't even cancel Futurama, they just stopped ordering new episodes. And where did the syndication rights go? Cartoon Network, baby! Futurama aired on Adult Swim syndicated, and again found another huge audience. They even looked to Family Guy and tried to pull the same move with DVD sales, but at the end of the day, they negotiated a deal with Comedy Central, and that's how we got those weird movie episodes. They were actually straight to DVD when they premiered, something I didn't know until I did research for this video. Again, it was a product of its time. DVDs actually had a huge amount of power, but it was Adult Swim that did the heavy lifting, and once again proved that there was an audience for a show that the big network naively canceled. Bringing it back to another Seth MacFarlane show, American Dad, I feel like should be an honorable mention for sure. Simply put, it's just where a lot of people watched American Dad and where its audience grew. But once again, after Fox's cancellation, it was picked up by TBS. Are you sensing a pattern? It's worth doubting if TBS would have even picked it up, and if the show would have been dead a lot sooner without Adult Swim's involvement all those years ago. Baby Blues is another great example. It was a comic strip adapted into an adult animated series. It aired on the WB but only released 8 episodes. The remaining 5 episodes were eventually aired on Adult Swim after the network picked up the series in syndication only. An unproduced second season exists and will likely never see the light of day, but it's cool knowing Adult Swim could have made it a possibility if it was on a bigger network. But that's not the only WB show that Adult Swim had on its plate. Another canceled WB series that never finished airing on the network was The Oblongs. Adult Swim nabbed syndication rights, airing its final 5 episodes just like Baby Blues. However, unlike Baby Blues, Oblongs stood out more on the network. Although it never got a revival, it was regarded as an Adult Swim show for the longest time. Those who remember it probably won't even connect it to Warner Brothers. A lot like Home Movies, in my opinion. And honestly, I think the credit should go to Adult Swim for these shows. They're the ones that take a chance after a network cancels it, but they don't always just rescue Western animation. Adult Swim has even been known to save some anime. Big O was the first of the network to be, quote, rescued. Adult Swim went on to produce its season 2 after the anime only received 1 season. And it was one of the earliest examples of an American entertainment company reviving a Japanese property, which is pretty revolutionary. Speaking of revolutions, we couldn't talk about Adult Swim revivals without mentioning Fooly Cooly. Fooly Cooly is now famous at this point, but it wasn't always that way. It premiered originally in 2000, but when it aired on Adult Swim in 2003, it gained a cult following. Are you sensing a pattern? I don't know how much more obvious I can be. Jason DeMarco, head of Toonami and senior vice president and creative director at Adult Swim, was trying to get a second season since 2003, and luckily he was eventually able to get his way in 2016, with new Fooly Cooly coming out in 2018, almost 2 decades after the original. Fooly Cooly at this point is a critically acclaimed animated work and is studied by the greats. It went on to influence countless projects, and if you haven't seen it, I highly recommend it.
There's still more say in business to tend to.
Adult Swim even revived itself once. I'm talking about the infamous network block Toonami, beloved by fans for many years, but it eventually ran its course and ended, only to be brought back when fans demanded it. Toonami wrapped up in September of 2008 on Cartoon Network due to gradual low ratings, its heaviest hitter Naruto wrapping up, and general network meddling, which leads us to April 1st, 2012. A few employees from Adult Swim and Funimation concluded that people would rather tune in at midnight and that ratings matter. Doing a classic bait and switch with what was the network's usual stunt, an airing of The Room, Tom 3 quickly greeted the audience and launched a night of Toonami with its classic 2003 to 2006 aesthetic. This featured a new episode of Bleach already scheduled to air, Dragon Ball Z, Gundam Wing, Outlaw Star, and more. And the best part? They got to air all this classic anime for free. All the dubbing companies asked for was to promote the DVD releases for the shows in between commercials. It was a beautiful symbiotic thing and one that fans totally responded well to. After the stunt, Adult Swim tweeted, "Want it back? Let us know, #BringBackToonami," which immediately started trending, and fans would campaign every Saturday for over a month straight until the following May. Adult Swim announced Toonami would be revived and return on Saturday, May 26, 2012, with a brand new, smaller, budget-friendly lineup, but its returning quickly grew, gaining more shows, including reruns of Thundercats 2011 and Symbiotic Titan, which was insane to see and a sign that this was a whole new era of television. And it was cool to see them rescuing the ruins of Cartoon Network's library, although additional seasons were never greenlit. Even Beware the Batman and Star Wars The Clone Wars got airtime alongside anime like Eureka Steven, Naruto, and Black Lagoon. If you were an animation fan, it was quite the time to be alive. And Toonami still airs with a stacked lineup and incredible atmosphere to this very day. Moving on to a more recent example, one of the biggest travesties in all of animation was Samurai Jack's ending. The show never got the conclusion that we were promised, instead ending on a super unsatisfying note, leaving a lot of fans heartbroken, until Adult Swim stepped in. After reruns on Adult Swim's Toonami got notable attention, alongside great timing from creator Genndy Tartakovsky, who simply emailed Mike Lazo about the revival and got approved, Samurai Jack was announced to return for a 5th and final season on Adult Swim in late 2015, slated for a 2016-2017 premiere, and it was going to be produced by Cartoon Network Studios. It did return in 2017 for a 10-episode final season, airing on Toonami, using its unrestricted network to tell a much more mature story with adult themes and sprinkles of brutal, bloody action. That definitely was not allowed on Cartoon Network. This led Genndy to work with Adult Swim and Cartoon Network Studios once more to produce his latest animated adult project, Primal, which is also incredible. Definitely check that out. Which brings us to the present with Tuca and Bertie. Again, Tuca and Bertie was canceled despite critical acclaim and a huge fan base, but this time it wasn't Fox, but Netflix. Times have really changed. Ultimately, it seemed as though Tuca and Bertie was buried by Netflix's algorithm, despite its immediate success with 20 to 30-year-olds, and the cancellation was met with a large vocal disdain, one of the largest for any Netflix originals, let alone animation. Then Adult Swim swooped in, baby. That was a bird pun. But this was different. They got more than just the syndication rights. They fully greenlit and are producing a season 2 of this show. That's right, they got the rights. Tuca and Bertie is an Adult Swim original. You love to see it. I want to end on this note because after all of Adult Swim's history, this is what I've always wanted for them. It seemed as though they always took a chance on the weird cartoon, or the cult cartoon, or the ones that they saw the talent in, but the big networks didn't. And Adult Swim was really genuine about everything they did. So all of the high ratings and large amount of viewers that flocked to watch these shows were all genuine as well. But what would happen time and time again is after Adult Swim built up these shows, they'd go back to their original networks or to another big company, making it seem as though Adult Swim never got any of the credit. But not anymore. They're taking these shows into their own hands and they're making sure that when Tuca and Bertie is inevitably successful, hopefully they get some of the credit for it. Now, I'm not saying that Adult Swim was like robbed of shows or anything. I don't know what was going on behind the scenes. I'm just looking objectively. And this might not even be the reason why they're doing it. But at the end of the day, I still think it's a great thing for the network. And it's cool that they're moving more towards mainstream original content. Niche Adult Swim is great, believe me. But Rick and Morty proved they can keep it weird while still building building a mainstream audience and having commercially successful shows, and I feel like Tuca and Bertie is just another step in that direction. At the end of the day, Adult Swim has always been a super genuine network that stuck its neck out for the little guy and saw potential in shows that no one else did. Time and time again, they've proved that they know what's a hit and what's not, and I wanted to make a video to spread awareness of how crucial Adult Swim has been in all of these shows' histories, even if it doesn't seem like it. But as always, I want to know what you guys think. Do you think this is interesting? Do you not even watch Adult Swim? Let us know in those comments down below, or tweet to us at Roundtable Vids or me at Treasure Nemo. If you want to consider helping out the Roundtable, you can support us on Patreon or become a member of the channel and get exclusive access to scripts and avatars. As always, if you enjoyed this video, make sure to give it a like, share it, and subscribe to the Roundtable for more incredible cartoon content. Guys, I'm Nemo, this is Retrospective, and I will see you next time. Peace.